Like, I grew up on the OG Teen Titans, but I will talk about things that people that are, you know, because I'm 24 or whatever, I'm not that far from you, but you're in my peer
Sure.
group. I'll
Sure.
talk about things and it's something I grew up on, like Xena.
And see, but
That came out in 1995. But there are things
Okay.
I've seen and I've heard that not a, like, you know, like, it's different. You can't, like, staple, like, certain things, yeah, you can staple because, like, for instance, I don't know, it's different now. Now it's like slime and shit. But when I was in
Yeah.
elementary school and middle school, we had, like, the cell of, like, these weird, like, band bracelet thingies that looked like they had this, like, weird shape. And we used to sell and trade them with each other for,
Wait, do
like,
you mean the
$1.
animal-shaped wristbands?
Yeah, and, like,
Oh,
little
yo!
pet shops.
Okay, but okay. Hold on, though, because all this is making you sound like is actually a zillennial. Because Xena Warrior Princess is a very 90s thing.
It came out in 95, which is
Yeah.
3 years before I was born. But there's a lot of, like, I listened to a lot of, my mom went diverse with her music, which is something I really appreciate.
Sure, yeah.
I listened to a lot of gospel, a lot of R&B, a lot of soul. I listen to Spanish because I am half Cuban. You know, I listen to country, old country, like singing about like the inequality of prisons, old country, Johnny Cash type shit, because my grandpa was into it. You know, and then my mom never showed me the Beatles. So I never saw what was good about the Beatles, and then I learned how awful the Beatles were, and I went, yeah, anyone who likes the Beatles is weird.
Well, there's the, you mean like the John Lennon controversy?
John Lennon, the stealing from black artists. You know, I don't like Elvis. I think Elvis is a piece of shit. No. And there's many reasons. One of them is he married his 14-year-old cousin. So on top of stealing from black artists, he's also a pedophile. You know, you can't say that word on YouTube, so I gotta censor. You know,
you said it in the British accent, but okay.
But you know, like I listen to, but the core of it is that, like, I grew up also on a weird show, and I can't remember what freaking part of. Because when we were growing up, Disney decided to branch off into like 5 different spin-offs. It was like Disney X, Disney XD, Disney, and I was like, bro, I can't keep, just put it on one. Put it on one thing. I cannot keep up with this. You are stressing me out. This is stressful. Please keep it on one. And so I watch Gargoyles. Do you know how many people who are like 26, 25, 24 who are like, I have no idea what you're fucking talking about?
I grew up on Gargoyles, though.
I grew up on Gargoyles.
Yeah.
But when I tell that to other people, like in our peer group, who have not, like, it for some reason, it's like this weird gate cap, it's like this weird show, this like underground show. And I'm like, I watch, and then Dragon Tales, and 16, and the freaking, like, weird, like, those are things that I equate. So when people are like, oh, here's this like regular like late 90s or like 90s to like 2000s, and they bring me something, I'm like, you must have had very different childhoods. Which is why I think certain things are staples, like, you know, the thing I was telling you about the animal wristband selling, you know, the trade-off in elementary to middle school. Certain things are of that time. Certain things are like, this is Y2K fashion, this is Y2 whatever. But I think other things you can't put into as like a late 90s, early 2000s thing, because everyone has had a different childhood. You know? Like, you grew up with Nirvana or whatever, and then I listened to Screamo because someone older than me, who would be a millennial, I believe that would be her age bracket, she influenced me with Screamo music. So, like, with rock. And so, like, you could so it's like it's so hard to bracket stuff in, and yeah, no, it's like it's one of the, oh, I'm at 20.
Oh, sweet. You're at level 20 in Bloons Tower Defense.
I am.
Everyone, Smalls Noodle is at level 20 in Bloons Tower Defense.
No, it's just one of those things where, like, you know, I think there are certain things that define a generation, right? Like the Lost Generation, and the Silent Generation. I think there's a lot of things that define. There's definitive generational markers, but I think because one of the things that irritates me is that people who were born in the upper 90s, I mean, like straight up 1990 to like 1995, will be like, you don't know that. You were born you were born later. And I was like, just because I'm at 98 doesn't mean I don't know what you're freaking talking about.
Sure.
So it's
if you're trying to say that like certain things don't outright belong and should not be gatekept to, like, you know, certain points in time and generations, I would agree with that. Someone who is like 15 today absolutely has every ability and right to, like, you know, watch Dragonlance or Gargoyles or something that came out in the 90s, or like, you know, Street Sharks or something.
Is the best thing ever, and no one talks about it.
I just meant in the sense that, like, what I mean when I say that these things sort of belong to a generation or whatever is not in the sense that they need to be gatekept from future generations, but more so in the sense that, like, they were what was on, you know, like, it was the up and coming thing. It wasn't like this, like, oh, let me like rediscover it on some internet archive, you know, like 70 years later. It was the thing, you know, so that sort of informed the milieu and the development and the tastes of people at the time. And that, I feel like that's got to be a little bit different than being able to kind of just consume it in a way where you have access to a lot of this stuff now, like with streaming services or whatever. And it's not bad. It's not different in the sense that it has any less value.
Yeah.
It's just different in the sense that, like, it's a different upbringing, you know.
Oh, and definitely that's what I acknowledge, you know.
I am kind of, you know, I guess to a smidgen, you know, I feel like I am like a hopeless topologist a little bit, because I'm like, you know, I feel like just because the sort of framework that you want to encapsulate around people, or you maybe don't want to encapsulate people in, might not be so obvious and might be a little bit shaky, all that means is you just have to workshop the framework. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like the pursuit of a framework is wrong. You know, you just gotta workshop it. You know, gotta shift the goalposts, as they say. You know.
Yeah, I think there are different things that, like, I think personally, Twilight is for people who were born in the later 90s and 2000. Twilight came out in 2009. No, 2008. Because Vampire Diaries came out a year later in 2009.
Yeah.
I think that is an us.
Which is funny, because people will say Vampire Diaries was inspired or influenced by Twilight.
It was.
But, like...
It had a book series.
What's his name? Stefan looks more like David Boreanaz from Angel.
I think that has to do with hairstyle techniques of the time. Because when you watch season 1 of Vampire Diaries, everyone's eyebrows are plucked to high heaven. You know, like, no one can have their natural shape. It is all plucked. Like, and you can tell that is a 2009's look. Alright? There are certain things. There was a period of time in the 2000s that younger kids don't know about, because now everyone has, like, their eyebrows are full, you know, the hair, you know, everyone's embracing the hair, their eyebrows are either blended in or they're naturally thick, you know, like, it's more of an embrace, you know, of things. But when I was growing up, everyone plucked their eyebrows, and it was so much that I, a person with naturally thick eyebrows, was like, does no one have those? Like, is that purely a Cuban thing? Like, why am I not seeing more people with bushier eyebrows? And if you did have bushier eyebrows, you were the exotic, like, character. You know, it was always people of, like, other ethnicities with the bushy. So it was